So hello everyone, welcome to the first Jumpstart Your Career workshop. We have three speakers with us today, Andrea Boldarini from KPMG and Daniela and Claire from Atlas. And today they're going to be speaking about CVs basically. So Andrea is going to start from KPMG.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our talk. My name, as she said, I'm Andriana, and I'm here representing my firm, KPMG. I work in the HR department, and my role is that of managing students' programs and initiatives. Together with Atlas, we will be talking about how to make your CV pop, and I will be talking about a document which should be sent together with the CV, which is the covering letter. So both KPMG and Atlas, we feel that a covering letter, sorry, I forgot to change the screen. Sorry, here it is, you can see it. Just thumbs up. Yep, thank you. The CV is extremely important, and later on, Atlas will explain to you how and why this is important. But a CV is like, it's like a form. You will fill in the blanks, and in it, you always find the same information: name, education, experience, etc., etc. A covering letter gives you the opportunity to be creative, to put yourself forward and catch the employer's attention. It shows us that you have dedicated some time to actually apply with KPMG or Atlas. It is not something must produce like a CV. I mean, form style basis. It requires a lot of your creativity. Here I've jotted down in point form what needs to be included in this covering letter. This is something, like I said, something personalized to each specific employer. So make sure you send it to the right person. We do receive covering letters addressed to competitors, and it doesn't look good on you. I understand that everyone does mistakes, but this is your first impression, and it's important that you get it right before you press the send button. Just check, and recheck. I mean, you're never too sure. I mean, this will not take you a lot of time, but it's very important. Having said that, just in case that mistake happens or that email is sent and then you realize, do back it up with another email. I apologize for the previous email. I'm attaching the correct documents. It's nice to do that. It's not nice to see a CV addressed to someone else. It doesn't look good on you. The next step is think of this as a sales pitch. Why you are applying for this post? What do you like about the firm? Here it shows that you have done some research on the firm and you believe in, I don't know, for example, the values of the firm, or for example, I don't know, something, someone related to you, or someone that works in the firm, and he always spoke highly of the firm. Whatever that reason is that made you apply, you need to write it here. Also, let us know why you should be chosen for this position, why you think you are fit for this position. Don't be vague, be a bit specific. Don't say like, I would like to apply for any position you have within the company. I mean, wow, but I'm sure you have a specific role and in mind. Give us a reason why we should offer you an interview. Because after this, this will make us decide whether or not we should do an interview for you. The last point is, tell us your passions. If you are good with people, give us examples. Like, I have always found myself comfortable working within a team. I don't know, during a school project, during scouts, whatever you do. We understand that you're not experienced, and we understand the level you are at, but use examples like, I don't know, past work, even if it's a waiter or, I don't know, something related, whatever it is, related to school, you participated in projects, etc. You need to apply it here. For example, I don't know, another example, I love number crunching. In fact, as a hobby, I always participate in tournament, hackathons. I don't know, another example, accounts was always my favorite, or any other subject. And I always wanted, you know, to explore a career within this subject. Now, before I pass on the stage to Atlas, I will give you a few pointers on the other documents needed to apply for a job, which is the CV. Here, there is no right or wrong format. Some say Europass, Bilforce, it's mandatory. To us, I mean, both our KPMG and Atlas agreed that it doesn't matter. However, always check with the employer what is preferred, what is their preference with regards to this document, and what is requested from you. For us, as long as it's clear and has all the information required, education, work experience, your details, etc., you should be fine. So don't stress yourself on the format. As long as it's clear, it's correct. Spell check, make sure that there are no mistakes. This is very important. I mean, even if someone reviews it, don't just, you know, rely on spell check. If you know other people who might help you on with this, do rely on them. It is also important that it's clear, with easy to find information. Sometimes I feel, you know, we receive CVs with complicated formats, sections, colors. Sometimes it looks like an abstract painting. I'm not saying it's wrong. However, think of it from a recruiter point of view. I mean, we receive a lot of CVs, and it's important for us to, you know, if, for example, I need to call you and I need to find your number, I don't need to do a treasure hunt around your CV to actually find out where your number is. Usually, the personal information, it's always found at the top, and it helps us. I'm not saying it's wrong, that it has a complicated format, but for us, I mean, it's much easier. I mean, a CV it's what it is. So be creative. It's better if you're more creative in the covering letter. So basically, that's it from my end. Please feel free to reach out to me for advice. I will be super happy to support you. And over to Atlas now.
Thank you very much, Andriana, for that. So I think if you can stop sharing.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Mine.
Sorry, give me a second. Oh my goodness, I'm stuck.
I think it should be at the top of the screen.
Yes, I'm trying to. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see it. Yes? Okay, very good. Okay, everybody, so good afternoon. Today, from our end, we'll be talking to you about the interviewer's perspective, so what we look for as recruiters in your CVs and your applications. So first of all, I would just like to introduce myself and my colleague who will be speaking today. So I'm Claire, I'm the business partner for HR operations here at Atlas, and we're also joined by Daniela, who is our senior HR associate. Okay, so first I wanted to talk to you a bit about the first impressions of your CV and your application in general. As it's already been mentioned by Andriana, the general presentation of your CV and application makes a big difference. Sort of the way you present your data and yourself will leave a lasting impression on the recruiter. I also want to point out the importance of choosing a suitable photo for your CV. We obviously receive a lot of CVs and we see a lot of photos. And I just want to remind you that the photo should always be professional. It doesn't necessarily need to be a corporate photo in a suit or whatever, but always be aware of how you're posing in this photo, what you're wearing, and just make sure obviously it's fit for its purpose. A photo that might potentially be good for your Instagram feed is not always the case for your CV. So keep that in mind. Something else I wanted to mention was the choice of personal email address that you use. I mean, I've been there myself. A lot of us set up very silly email addresses as children or preteens or whatever. And I realized when it came to the time to send out the CV, I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have a professional looking email address. I mean, as you can see on the screen, I've chosen a silly example. No one wants to receive a CV from someone called Jazzmaster. I mean, you can't go wrong with your name and your surname. So please try and stick to a professional email address, because employers do notice these things. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to mention was also the shortlisting process. So sort of what we look out for and how we choose between one CV or another. So first of all, again, as Adriana mentioned, always keep your applications as short and concise as possible, in the sense, only include any information that is required of you, and make sure that you are giving them the information that they've asked for in a clear and concise way. Obviously, as recruiters, we're trying to make very quick decisions with little information. So obviously, the overall way you write this is important. Another question that we receive quite often from students is how important their academic knowledge is for a CV in general. I want to keep this quite general, in the sense I feel academic knowledge on a CV depends on the type of role you're applying for. In the sense, if you're applying for a job that's perhaps you will receive full on the job training, it might not be as relevant as a job where you would need your knowledge to back up the experience you'll be gaining. In the sense, for example, at Atlas, we give a lot of importance to students who have chosen insurance as their major and are focusing on insurance, because of course that will then support their obviously their day-to-day tasks. But perhaps in different sectors it might be different. So I don't know, if you have to look at the hospitality industry, just as an example, usually they're given more on-the-job training and less focus on the academic side. So take it as it comes when it comes to each job. Okay. So the next thing I also wanted to talk about was practical experience. Obviously, we also get this question about students not having much full-time experience. I mean, that could be the case that perhaps you worked full-time somewhere else before studying, but the usual case is that students obviously haven't had the opportunity to work full-time yet. The number one tip I can give you is that experience is always experience, in whatever context you've done it in. So you could have a variety of experience. Like on the screen, I've mentioned 6 main types, and obviously this is not an exhaustive list. But for example, myself as a recruiter, I could have someone that's doing the exact same course with very similar grades, and something like listing your experience would help me to identify certain skills that perhaps would give you an advantage over the other candidates. So for example, if you see, for example, you've had a summer job, you've worked as a waiter for a couple of months, and I look at that CV, and I would say, this person knows how to work with customers. This person knows how to potentially solve problems or work in a team. So that would give you some advantage over another candidate. I mean, even something perhaps you wouldn't think is relevant, like hobbies, for example, and I see someone who is part of a football team, that would instantly tell me that that person knows how to work with other people in a team to reach a common goal. So whatever you think, I mean, as Adriana was already mentioning in her presentation, whatever you can contribute towards selling yourself, so to speak, please include in your CV. Okay, this is quite a big question. Do employers check my social media? So the formal answer is no. We don't check social media as part of the formal recruitment process. Obviously, that's why you submit your application and your CV. However, obviously, an employer's main priority is finding someone who is fit for their organization, who is in line with their brand, with the values, with the philosophy, and all that jazz, basically. So as you know, whatever you put online will stay online. Anyone can access from anywhere. You could have potential clients or colleagues looking at your social media accounts. So please, please, please be aware of what you put on the internet, because once it's on the internet, unfortunately, it can never go away. I also just wanted to briefly mention, obviously, this varies between industries, but for example, in the financial sector, primarily at Atlas, once we have hired somebody and we're doing their onboarding process, they also go through a number of background checks, which includes a social media check. We also check other things like police conduct, criminal records, credit checks, but we also look at people's social media as well. So please keep that in mind when you're posting photos out in Parcherville on Facebook and Instagram. Okay. Now I'll pass on to Daniela, and she'll take you through some information about the pre-interview stage.
So hi everyone, and thank you, Claire. So following what my colleague Claire has mentioned, I would like to discuss briefly some tips and tricks when it comes to submitting your CV, and also some points when it comes, 1 second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. And also some points when it comes to that, what we can call like the pre-interview stage. So to start off with, it's important that one understands the shortlisting cycle from the interviewer side, and also the stuff involved when it comes to recruitment. So for every vacancy, you would have someone from the HR department who's reviewing the CVs, and also this, the department like manager or assistant manager involved for that specific role. So when it comes to the shortlisting, the interviewer would be reviewing these CVs with other staff members. So what I'm trying to point out is to be aware of the time frame. Sometimes we receive application, and for example at Atlas, once you submit your application with us, you receive an automatic reply saying that it's like an acknowledgement that we've received your CV. But sometimes within less than an hour, we start getting phone calls and people ask us, do you have an update on my application? Please bear with us, as this takes time until the CVs are screened and are shortlisted. What I'm saying also is it's important that you follow up. So if you haven't heard a reply from the interviewer after let's say 2 days, you follow up and you give them a call or you send out an email saying, do you have any updates on my application? Another point that comes in connection with this one is the flexibility. So if an employer contacts you to try to give you a call to ask you certain queries on your application, or for example to even find a time slot available to book an interview, try to be as flexible as possible. As I've said, there are more than one person usually involved in the from the interviewer side. So we understand that everyone had their own commitments, but try to be as flexible as possible when it comes to these time slots. Okay, so next slide, please. Now, what I want to mention is some tips and tricks that we notice that they might seem like few or small items, but they make a huge difference. So first one off is to be specific when you're applying. We understand, we always say avoid sending out a general or open vacancies. It's not a problem if you do, but if you do, specify which role you're looking for. If you're looking for a full-time vacancy, for a part-time, if you're looking for an internship or only for a summer work opportunity, just be specific. Even if you're still studying and you want to find a part-time job, mention, for example, which course you're in, the year you're in, and even the majors that you're specializing in. So be direct. It's very important to be direct. Next item is to avoid templates and CVs. Claire, can you switch the slide, please? Thank you. So avoid CVs, avoid template CVs or template covering letters, as even Andreana and Claire have mentioned. And employers immediately let down if we get an application and you find that it's addressed to a competitor. Obviously, for example, if we know that the market is small, so if you want to be employed in the insurance sector, obviously we understand that obviously you're going to apply with other insurance companies. But at least take the time when you're applying to apply separately, or even to check your application. Check that you're careful that what you're sending is addressed to the right company. and that if you're taking the time also to write down a covering letter, if you're taking that time, but then personalize it accordingly. Make sure that you focus on your skills when you're writing the covering letter. Focus and tell us why you would be an ideal candidate for that role within that company. So sometimes we receive a lot of applications that they are, it's like sometimes they send us an application without actually the candidate actually proofreading and checking the documents that they are sending us. Another point is to focus on less information but more direct, as even Claire and Andriana have mentioned. The recruiter is trying to shortlist applications. We receive a huge amount of applications for one vacancy. We're trying to shortlist them, and we're shortlisting in a limited time and also with limited information. So it's important to be direct and to be concise, to make sure that what is crucial for the employer to know, that it's there, it's clear. And last final tip would be that to be honest and be yourself. Don't exaggerate, don't bluff on your CV, just don't try to increase and to put more data to make the CV look nicer. Just be yourself and just tell us what is important for us to know and what best defines who you are, because then that's what the employer would like to know, and the rest will then follow during the interview stage. That's it from my end. I hope you found this interesting, and please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Anyone feel free to use their mics or use the chat box for any questions. If you have any questions and you'd like to ask them at a later stage, you can message ASCS and we can forward any questions to the speakers. Okay, so we have a question. Do you attach the certificates with the CV? So I don't know who would like to answer it.
Claire, do you want to?
Yes, sure. So I would recommend to write that you have certificates available upon request, because obviously, as I was mentioning, we have a lot of applications to go through. So going through pages and pages of an application can sometimes be a bit even overwhelming for the recruiter. So my answer would be no, I wouldn't attach them unless it's been required by the company. And just write a note that certificates and references or whatever is available upon request.
We have another question. Does one recommend attaching a photo in a CV? I recently did a course about CVs and covering letters, and the person recommended that we don't.
I've never heard this, to be honest. I mean, it's completely up to you. I'll speak from personal experience. I sort of like to know who I'd be interviewing potentially, but it's not a written rule. I don't know, Andriana, maybe from your experience, if it makes a difference to you.
Sorry. Yes. So, like Claire said, I would like to know. You know, I mean, that's an extra information, and I'm sure, like, you know, for example, I mean, at least that's what I do. For example, when I receive, you know, that I'm having an interview with an ex person, I don't know, I'm going to have an interview with Claire Manjon. You know, myself, I'm going to look her up to see how she looks like, etc. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people do that. And it's the same for us. It is not compulsory. I mean, if I had to say, if you don't have the right picture, like Claire mentioned before, so if you know, in the photo you don't look professional, or you can't find, or you can't take because it's not your day, you have a bad hair day or whatever, or the sun is too bright or whatever it is the reason, and you can't take a good photo, don't attach it. It's not the end of the world. But if you do have one and it's decent enough and you think that it's appropriate, why not? I mean, we're not going to judge anyone by looks, not at all. But it's just, I mean, it's the same thing when, you know, everyone shifted online. It's very strange when if we had to do it, for example, without our cameras on. I mean, you know, it feels not so personal. It's personal. So having the cameras on and having a picture, it adds a bit of, you know,
Personality.
exactly.
Personality,
Thank you.
exactly.
Sorry, I was looking for the word. Exactly. That's it.
I mean, we all get frustrated when we're on Facebook and someone doesn't have a profile picture. And I feel it's
Yes.
the same for a CV.
Agreed.
Yes, yes. Or he has a picture of a dog and he's not a
Exactly.
dog. Exactly.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to ask anything else before we finish off.
It looks like they understood
Yes.
everything.
Receive perfect CVs going forward.
Yes, yes.
We
You're
have some
welcome.
thank yous.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I'm just going to end it right here. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the invite.
So good luck, everyone, if you're going to be interviewing with KPMG and Atlas in Jumpstart Your Career. Have a good day.
Good luck, everyone.
Luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.